we're convening the public hearing first, and then we'll convene the meeting. So let's convene this public hearing regarding the Drinking Water Revolving Fund and call the roll.
Chairman Einhauser,
Present.
Vice Chair Blackman,
Present.
Commissioner Coleman,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Forte, and Commissioner is excused but plans to join us. Commissioner Kinlock. Present. Commissioner Garcia is absent. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, then let's move to the approval of the agenda for the public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioners, yes, Commissioner
I
Blackman.
would move approval of the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, all those in favor of the adoption of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted. Now we get to public hearing comments. And I think,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
first they're going to present the public hearing.
yeah. Okay,
Before the
presentation
comments.
first.
who is
Presentation.
presenting that? Ms. Daniels?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, then let's hear about the public hearing and the purpose for why we're here.
Good afternoon. My name is Monica Daniels. I'm the Finance Asset Manager for DWSD, Detroit Water and Sewage Department. And I am here to present the public hearing. We have a project plan that we are submitting because DWSD is requesting funding from the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We provided a public notice in several news publications regarding this public hearing and opened for questions. We provided the project plan to the public. What you see on the screen is the notice that was provided to the public for fiscal year 23 DWSRF drinking water projects. We have two projects, WS 732 Project A and WS 733 Project B, and they will include the excavation and replacement of water main and lead service lines where applicable in those areas. The total requested amount is going to be 22 million. What you see on the screen right now is the information again from the public hearing for today, Wednesday, April the 20th. And we made the project plan available on our website. There were several people that sent emails to me requesting the information. And once we complete our public hearing today, we will have a transcript and minutes so that we will add to the project plan and submit to EGLE. Some of the advantages that the financing advantages of seeking the DWSRF funding is one is the city of Detroit is determined to be a disadvantaged community. And us being a disadvantaged community, we are offered longer terms for the loan. We opted for a 30-year, but we do have the option of a 40-year, and other non-disadvantaged communities are only offered a 20-year. As a disadvantaged community, we are offered a principal forgiveness subsidy. And most recently, DWSD received a $10 million subsidy. This was a dedicated lead service line replacement loan that we were seeking in the amount of $10 million. And this is 100% loan forgiveness, so it would be treated like a grant, and it is called the Booker funding. What I have now on the screen are the two projects. The first project is Project A, WS 733. It's a water main replacement project. And the area is Warrendale, McDowell, Brightmoor, Claytown, Springwells, Crary, St. Mary's, and Grandmont. And we estimate that we're going to have about 430 lead service lines in that area. We're replacing approximately 29,000 linear feet of vintage cast iron water main that is either 6 to 12 inches in this area. The second project is Project B, or WS 733. This project is in areas east of Livernois. The neighborhoods are called Martin Park, Pilgrim Village, University District, Grixdale Farms, Greenfield Park, Mapleridge, East English Village, Yorkshire Woods, Denby, and Outer Drive Hayes. This project is about 27,000 linear feet. We again estimate about 430 lead service line replacements to happen through there. And again, with the 6 to 12 inch diameter water main that will be replaced. Now, these are the two projects that we have planned. These are not out for bid yet, because I did have someone call asking if they were able to bid on it. And the answer is yes, they are absolutely able to bid on it. But these projects are under development and are not out for bid yet. We're just announcing them because we're seeking funding so that we know we can move forward with the projects. The next page is a map overview of the
Yeah.
first project.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
On the
Commissioner
previous
Blackman.
slide. Is that Denby Community or Denby High School?
The neighborhood is called Denby, so I'm
Neighborhood is
assuming
called
that-
Denby. Okay,
you're
thank
right.
you.
In the map, on the second map should clarify for you of the area. And it is near Denby High School. The news publications, as I said, as part of the application process, we are required to provide public notice, and DWS uses all of these avenues to provide that public notice. On March the 17th through the 23rd, we had the following news publication: Detroit News, Detroit Legal News, Detroit Free Press, and the Michigan Chronicle. Our website, there was a volume of emails that went out to the various subscribers through the Gov delivery accounts. We posted it on our social media, Facebook and Twitter. We mailed the city council members so that we can make sure that they all are aware of the project. And we will do more socializing once the project is moved forward. Our next steps, today we're on the April 20th, which is our second step. We're having our public hearing. So after the public hearing, we will incorporate any discussions that we have today, any discussions that I've had with any individuals regarding this project, their inquiries. We will incorporate that into our project plan. Our project plan is attached as part of this presentation. And the purpose of the project plan is to define what the project is, how DWSD's engineers came about to determine what areas would be water main replacement would happen. That discussion would include things like what our asset management system has told us. The operations team, through the use of CityWorks, documents water main breaks, and our engineering team evaluates that information to determine where replacement needs to be made on our water mains. Once we incorporate any additional comments into our project plan, because our funding due to the lease agreement, we go through GLWA, Great Lakes Water Authority. We will then submit to their board because they are ultimately the signature on the loan. We will present it to the GLWA board in May. We will then take any comments from the GLWA board, same as our board meeting and the public meeting here today. We will incorporate any comments and feedback into the project plan. And we will take that time again to also incorporate the transcripts from today's meeting into a final project plan. And we plan to submit by the end of June. The deadline is July 1st, 2022, that we submit to EGLE, the state of Michigan. But like I said, we plan to have that incorporated and submitted prior to July 1st. And that is it for the public hearing presentation. And we can
Are there any
open it to
comments or questions from board members? Yes, Commissioner Forte. You know, this screen reflects on this glass. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't see you all,
Oh,
but
okay.
Commissioner Forte.
Just a quick question.
Do you know what the interest rate will be on the loan program?
2.5%.
Thanks.
And we do, I didn't mention it earlier when I spoke about loan forgiveness. We do anticipate that 9% of this loan will be forgiven.
Thank you.
Other board members.
Did she say 9%?
Correct.
2.5% interest rate,
Okay, but what will be forgiven though?
9%.
We anticipate 9%. It will not be determined until we complete our application. This is the final step or final submission for our application. And once it is all received and reviewed by Eagle, then they will let us know what portion of the loan will be forgiven.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners?
I just have
Yes.
just a couple comments. Some of the money that's coming out of the bipartisan infrastructure law bill is going through the state revolving fund in Michigan. And it's being directed that 49% of the dollars that we are borrowing will be loan forgiveness. And you see that we just got $10 million for lead service lines. That's completely loan forgiveness. So we always take the opportunity to even after the grants are awarded, to go back and ask after the project is complete, if in fact we can be forgiven. Secondly, I just want, the public, I know the board understands this, but there are a lot of details in the condition assessment that we go through in order to determine what neighborhoods we're going to be working in. The two primary concerns are what's called probability of failure, how likely is that pipe to fail, and then the consequence of the failure. And I'll give you an example. There's not as much redundancy near Henry Ford Hospital as there is in the downtown area. If a large water main were to break and knock the hospital out, the consequence of that failure is a lot greater than if it were in an area of the city in which there was not very much activity. And so how likely is the pipe to fail? The probability of failure, we take into consideration a number of breaks that we've had on that line because it's just not cost effective to keep repairing it. The age of the pipe, the soil conditions that it's in, and the material that the pipe is made out of. A lot of the pipe in the city of Detroit that was put in post-World War II is inferior to things that were put in the 1920s. So it's not just the age of the pipe that we take a look at. So by doing a condition assessment, putting cameras into the sewers, getting a good picture of the fractures or the fissures that are in that pipe. And then we have experts that take a look at that data and determine the areas of the city in which the pipe is most likely to fail. And then we look at the consequence of failure. So I'm going to be in Jefferson Chalmers tomorrow doing a town hall on flooding. And it always will come up. You saw the areas that we're going to be in. Why are you there and not into my neighborhood? The real value of this type of condition assessment is, as you know, it's much cheaper to replace pipe before it breaks. And when you have to do it on an emergency basis, normally 2 days, a day before the auto show, or during an emergency, it's much more expensive and costly to break than to be able to predict where the breaks will take place and replace those pipes before they do. So there's a lot of science that goes into it. And we're not just picking neighborhoods because we like them or somebody's yelling louder than somebody else. It's probability of failure and consequence of failure. And then the other points that I put in that determines where we're going to work. Thank you.
All right. Other comments or questions?
I just wanted to add, following up on everything that the director has stated, the project plan that is a part of the package in your handout today, that discussion for these particular projects is in the project plan. Also to add, when we talk about loan forgiveness, the state is required to provide a subsidy to disadvantaged communities. And the way that Eagle does it is through the loan forgiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions, and it's political season again, and somebody who's running for state rep on the east side was pinning me down about a number of things. And I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Heretofore, most of the funding for infrastructure improvements have come from bonds. That's correct?
That's correct.
But now we're seeing an opportunity to shift infrastructure improvements to the proceeds of these various funds. And if any part of Build Back Better gets passed, we're likely to get even more. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
accurate statement.
That's completely accurate. I think I just would add that, and you already know this, this is a once in our lifetime event where we're going to see this type of investment in infrastructure. And of course, the water industry, because the roads are so bad, the water industry is going to benefit from that. We just recently, the city just recently received $57 million for infrastructure from the HUD department, the housing department. That was completely unexpected. We've been told that we're going to be awarded $75 million from the bipartisan infrastructure law that's dedicated toward lead service lines. And, you know, it's we just got $15 million out of the ARPA money to do the basement backup protection program. And so again, this is a once in a lifetime. And as you indicated, Mr. Chair, the Build Back Better is still in play.
Mhm.
And if there's anything in it that I personally, that I'm cautiously optimistic will get funded, it's going to be infrastructure. And so for decades, we've had a lack of dollars invested in infrastructure. And now the real challenge is going to be, can we produce the workforce necessary in order to get the work done? Because most of these dollars come with an expiration date that you have to get it done. And so, you know, one of my goals with the other 38 departments in city government is that we at DWSD have an infrastructure in place to be able to spend money where a lot of people are trying to build infrastructure. A lot of other cities, smaller cities. And so if they can't spend that money, we need to be in a position to be able to accept it. And
then my further understanding is that prior to this one-time opportunity to get tens of millions of dollars, we aspirationally were seeking to replace 2% of the system a year, with the understanding that perhaps the whole system is replaced in 50 years. Is that still?
yeah, that's the benchmark.
That's the
Around the
benchmark.
country, and that's a heavy lift. 2% is a heavy lift, but you know, I told my team, I was talking to my engineers recently, in which we call it condition assessment, but that really doesn't describe actually the work that's being done. So for every 3 miles of condition assessment, first of all, you got to clean out that pipe from any debris within it in order to get a good picture of it. Just cleaning it is building capacity in the line when you have a big storm, when you get the tree roots out and you get all of the things that get trapped in a line. So while it's condition assessment, it's also building capacity. And for every 3 miles that you do a condition assessment, you end up either replacing or relining one mile. And so I caution against just looking at the 1 mile that got replaced, because there's so much value in the condition assessment that's being done also. So 2% is a big number.
One metric of the condition of the infrastructure are the cave-ins. right? And did I accurately hear, we experience about 600 cave-ins a year where the main just gives?
It's not just, a cave-in can be caused by either a water main that's broken or a sewer that's
Okay.
broken. But 50% of them are caused by private lines,
Oh,
the service lines that are connected to a home, either a lateral sewer line or a water line that breaks, and it breaks and causes a sinkhole. And so they're not all DWSD responsibilities, but we have to take care of them if it becomes a hazard.
all right. Well, thank you. Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, Director. So last night I was at the Virginia Park Community Association, which you mentioned, that the neighborhood you grew up in. And one of the residents had mentioned that we asked a question about why there are so many water main breaks, and not just because of the cold temperature. They were wondering whether it was because of the age of the infrastructure. Of course, that seems to be obvious question. But is there anything unique? That's the thing that the gentleman was asking. Anything unique about all of these water main breaks that's just all over the place?
Yeah, well, it's first of all, it's not just the cold temperatures. It could be hot temperatures in the summertime. So when you think about it, the water's coming out of the Detroit River at a temperature, and once it heats up and it's going into a pipe at a different temperature, it can cause a collapse, just like a cold temperature. But the real issue is just decades of deferred maintenance. You know, when you're leaning towards bankruptcy, for 20 years, there wasn't dollars available for the amount of maintenance that would be required for a system that was put in at the turn of the century. These pipes are more than 100 years old. And so lateral sewer lines, the shelf life is about, or the life cycle is about 30 years. You know, and so we're living in homes. I'm living in one now that, my lateral sewer line was put in 100 years ago. And it's just a matter of time before it breaks and creates a problem for me.
I know that a couple of years ago, we had some water main breaks that were premature. Like you said, they supposed to last 30 years. But specifically over there in the Gratiot area, there were some contractors that did put some faulty lines in, I recall us talking about that. So I'm just wondering, is there any association with that? But more so, have you all been tracking those lines that were laid by that former company that exists that, potentially give you a heads up on that you can be watching to see whether or not they are, I guess, erupting a little bit more than some of the other ones?
Yeah, it was that incident. I remember reading about it was before my time at DWSD, but I can tell you now, based on our condition assessments, we don't see any specific area that may have been worked on recently that has that problem. So I'm sure another board, required that those pipes be inspected prior to us all being here, and except Commissioner Blackman, I'm sure she was here, and she got it taken care of.
Okay, well, thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Then we'll open up the public hearing to any participation from the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the board with regard to this project?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. We do have one member from the public, but before we call his name, we would like to have the speech from Tiffany
right.
Jones.
Come down. Yes, tell us your name, and we'd like you to fill out a comment card. So if we're following up with you, we have your contact information, and just tell us your name and where you live, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll give the instructions for public comment today.
I'm sorry, you're on our.
For everyone, there will be 2 opportunities for public comment today. The first opportunity is immediately following the public hearing presentation, that's the section that we're on now. We ask that all comments during this section be directly related to the project plan for the Drinking Water Revolving Fund. The second opportunity for public comment is during the regular board meeting. To make a comment, if you are in person, please sign the sign-in sheet. Your name will be given to the chair and called. At that time, you can proceed to the microphone. If you are online, please raise your hand by using the raise hand icon on your desktop or mobile device. If you are calling into the phone, press *9 to raise your hand. If you are online or on the phone after your name is called, IT will give you permission to unmute. In order to begin speaking, you will have to unmute yourself. To do so, press the unmute button, which is the microphone icon if you're online, or *6 if you're calling in. As a reminder, you will have a limit of 3 minutes to make your comment. There will be a timer indicating your remaining time. If you're online and make a comment, we kindly request that you fill out the comment card. That link will be provided in the chat. By filling out this card, we will have your contact information to follow up appropriately. If you are unable to click the link, please let us know and a phone number will be provided for you to call and give us the information without giving your personal information on air. You will only be called upon once during each opportunity. Once the chair closes public comment, there will be no other comments from the public and all attendees will remain muted for the duration of the meeting. On-site comments will go first, followed by online and on the phone. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I have some people in the sign-up sheet, but this public comment is only related to this project. But you'll have an opportunity to make general comments at the full board meeting. So is there anyone that wants to address the board with regard to this project? Okay, is there anyone online that would like to address the board with regard to this project?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a couple members from the public who would like to address during this public comment. We will
All right.
start with Mike Friedman.
Mr. Friedman?
Looks like Mr. Friedman lowered his hand, so we will now go to last name Broughton.
Mute. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, your name, please?
Okay. I'm Michelle Broughton, and I'm in the councilman's office, but I live in the university district. And so my question is, will there be a cost to homeowners? That's my question.
All right. Mr. Director?
Yes and no. There's no direct cost to homeowners. The bonds that will be paid out of rate dollars. And as this board knows, we received $50 million a year from the Great Lakes Water Authority. We take a portion of that funding that's coming from the suburbs, and they pay us $50 million in order to have a level of governance and control on the board of directors. We take a portion of that $50 million and we service debt.
Service the debt.
And so do taxpayers pay for it? Yes, but mostly our suburban partners in the region that participate with the Great Lakes Water Authority will help service that debt.
All right. Is there anyone else online that would like to speak to this project?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Beulah Walker.
Ms. Walker?
Hey, hello, good afternoon. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Oh, hi, Chairman, Eisenhower, Director Brown, and all our honorable members of DWSD. This is the greatest news, one of the greatest news I can hear over the years of our water issues and our fights and our issues we've been having. This is just music to my ears. I'm just so happy that the community came together and the public legislation and all the moving parts and the mechanism. I do have two concerns. I have the one concern with the young lady. I don't have her in front of me. I'm at work, so I have to just wing it. The one young lady that we had that needs her underground water service line replaced. I think her name was Michelle or something like that. We would like to see, I'm not sure what district she lives in, but Hydrate Detroit is advocating for her to get her water line replaced. And I'm also, this question is for Mr. Director Brown. Am I hearing that some neighborhoods will be excluded? I don't know how that's sounding, but I'm just, we got people that been in their homes, older than I've been living and who have paid their dues and their time. So am I hearing that some neighborhoods will be excluded? And then that's my comment, and thank you. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
No, I'm sorry if I misled you to believe that some neighborhoods would be excluded. I was trying to explain the prioritization of this particular contract. There are dollars coming in to rebuild our infrastructure, and we're happy to say that we're going to be putting out additional contracts. So I can't imagine that there's going to be any city council district or neighborhood that gets excluded from, getting some relief with regards to lead service lines, water mains, and sewers being replaced.
Are there any other people who would like to make comments online?
We have one more comment, Mr. Chair, Philip Shane.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. Is he here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mr. Shane, yes, we hear you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. I just want to clarify a point made earlier in the presentation. You presented, I believe, two plans, Plan A and Plan B. Is it either or are you guys looking at doing both at the same time? And if it's either or, how can we ensure that the area east of Grand River and 6 Mile and west of Evergreen, south of McNichols and north of Grand River is included in the lead service line replacement in that neighborhood? I believe you might be calling it Brightmoor. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not either or, it's both both communities that were described. But we know that we're receiving $75 million exclusively for lead service lines, and we'll be coming back to this board with a detailed outline of the neighborhoods that we will be working in. It's my intent to put a contractor in every district of the city that will be working on lead service lines so that no neighborhood gets missed. The real tricky part will be to create a criteria of which homes will get done first. And Mr. Shane, I know that you have at least one child in the home, which will move you to the top of the list when we get a contract in place to be able to start working on the lead service lines. So there's $75 million that we know is coming from the state. We just received $10 million, I believe, Lakeshore. That contract's being voted on, I think today. I know it came out of committee, I believe, at our last meeting. And then there's another $1 million contract that I'm going to be able to do one-off emergency lead line replacements that we're going to allow the land bank to have access to. That contract, unfortunately, there was a protest by one of the vendors. I've asked our law department to resolve that issue as quickly as possible so that we can get that contract to the board as quickly as possible. So I suspect within the next 30 to 45 days, it's certainly in this construction season, there's going to be a minimum of $85 million in lead service line work being conducted citywide.
All right. I believe that concludes public hearing.
Mr. Chair, we have one more person to raise their hand. It's
Okay.
Valerie Branas.
Hello, commissioners. I appreciate your work on this. I just have a very quick question. Going into the meeting, I thought this was about water main replacement. Is it also about individual service lines? In other words, the lines that go from the main up to the home?
Yes, if in fact there is a lead service line attached, I'm sorry, if we're replacing the water main on your street or any street in a neighborhood, we will completely take out the lead service line and put a new copper line in. If the homes already have a copper line, it will simply be reattached to the new water main. And so what you're seeing is a water main replacement contract that also has just under 500, we anticipate just under 500 lead service lines attached to those lines. That's what we expect. We won't know until we actually, dig up the water main to verify, but we suspect there are at least 500 that will be replaced during these two projects.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other requests to address the board?
Mr. Chair, that concludes all of the individuals that are attending online.
All right, then I will close the public comment section of this hearing and ask,
Got one.
somebody's raising their hand?
Yeah.
This plexiglass might
If
as
she
well
could,
be.
if she could
okay.
just come to the microphone.
Okay, please come to the microphone.
Yeah.
Please tell us your name and where you live.
My name is Jermaine Pains.
Little louder, please.
My name is Jermaine Pains, and I live in the 15119 Greenfield District area. This question is for Gary Brown. Your project that you have and the board members put together, is this going to cover the Greenfield, and how far up Greenfield is it going to cover? What part of the district of Greenfield is it covering?
Yeah, I don't have I don't know if we can put it back up on the screen. I don't have it. I don't have all the streets memorized. But I know we were on Greenfield. Did you have a specific location that you were concerned about?
Well, we have been, I have been coming to the meetings
Yeah, I thought
frequently.
I thought so, Mr. Payne. I thought that was you. I'm sorry. There's so much plexiglass and reflection bouncing off. It's hard for us to see very well, but we're going to be hopefully voting on a contract today to do lead service lines, and you're in that. You're going to be the first up in
right.
that first group.
And I appreciate the board members allowing me to give a public comment on this issue. I know it's been a frustrating issue for me and several other hundreds of people who have came to board meetings regarding service line replacements or lead line replacements mains. So I didn't want to give my public comment right now, but since we're talking about this particular project in certain districts, I thought that this specific project will cover my district and my issue. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right, before we adjourn this public hearing, do commissioners have any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you, Monica.
I do have one request. The gentleman that just spoke, he may be in the area of this project, and if so, I need someone to provide me his location as soon as possible so I can respond as part of the public hearing and as part of the project plan. I would have to respond to his request.
All right,
Yeah.
we have his contact information, don't we? Okay. All right, then I am going to, I guess we should make a motion.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn our public hearing? And is there support? All right, it's been moved and seconded, but we could have more hearings like this in which we talk about how we're going to spend one-time money. Be nice if it was more than one time. All right, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. All those opposed? And the public hearing is adjourned.